Hi, and a very warm welcome to Wellbeing Mission Control. I'm Greg Parry. Let me ask you a question. How's your temper? Do you sometimes find that you get angry, upset, filled with righteous indignation? I know, join the club. It happens an awful lot these days. You could probably notice that it happens more often than it used to. And I think it's a product of a lot of the stresses that people are experiencing. There never seems to be enough time to take care of everything on the to-do list. But I thought it might be helpful for us just to take a moment to think about where all those emotions come from. When we're getting a temper outburst, we rarely feel good about it. And I've worked with people who feel really guilty when they have an outburst of anger. It just kind of makes things even worse. But I thought it might be useful to share with you an insight into these negative emotions. And it's a very, very powerful understanding of why these emotions develop. And it's also an invitation for us to perhaps exercise more control over them so we can channel our energy more effectively. Because all of your anger, those outbursts, those feelings of frustration, they come from one source. Every negative emotion that we experience can be traced to a single root, and it's fear. Now, when I first came across this notion, my teachers were trying to explain that life is really a lot simpler than we might imagine. And I really didn't understand how everything could be reduced to one simple source. But with enough analysis, a bit of meditation and mindfulness, you discover that, yeah, when you're angry, the key question to put to yourself is, what are you afraid of? Now, I've got to tell you, if you're with somebody who's experiencing anger, that's probably not the best question to put to them. They might not appreciate it. But perhaps in a moment of reflection, when things have calmed down, it might be worthwhile exploring, both for yourself or for others, where does that anger come from? Because if we can discover what it is that's making us feel afraid, what are we scared of? That's how we can neutralize the root of all those emotions. It's a very powerful insight because it's not obvious. You know, the leaf on the tree doesn't resemble necessarily the root, even though it's deeply connected. But when you understand that your fears are driving all of your negative reactions, that we can reduce all of those experiences, those feelings, those powerful emotional drives to the things we're afraid of, it gives us a powerful key to dealing with these reactions more successfully. Because when you expose your fear to the light of reason, when you drag it into the broad daylight, fear doesn't survive. Fear doesn't survive for long when it's exposed to the light of the rational mind. And by practicing mindfulness, and even after the event, after you've probably apologized for the outburst and beaten yourself in retribution for exposing people to your anger and your upset, when you're past all that and the waters have become a little calmer, that's when you need to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And if you can put enough time and energy into that little question, you may be surprised at the answers you get, because the thing you're angry about might not be directly connected, or not in an obvious sense, to the underlying fear. But it's that underlying fear that's providing the raw energy which manifests in those outbursts of anger. It's a very, very powerful exercise because it helps you to put your feelings into a different context. And after all, the purpose in being here is for us to develop a greater level of understanding about how we function, why we do things, perhaps even discover a little more about who we really are. These deeper levels of analysis, these invitations to explore why we behave the way we do, can give you a very, very powerful insight into some of the reactions. But it's very interesting that to discover that if you regret your anger, and I have worked with people who actually enjoy their emotional outbursts, but if you can get beyond this feeling of, gosh, why do I get so angry? Why do I feel so upset? And discover what you're afraid of, you can effectively neutralize those reactions. All that energy that was being expressed in anger, or fear, and upset can be channeled into a much more positive direction. It doesn't mean anger's wrong. It simply means that if you get to choose how you feel, most of us would prefer not to be angry rather than to have an outburst of temper where we just feel like we're losing control. The choice is yours. What do you think? Useful suggestion? I'll be delighted to receive your feedback on the subject. I've worked with many people over the past 25 years who've had anger issues. And this is one of the keys we've used to help to explore why they feel the way they do, and then to have the key to turn it off if they choose not to be angry. It's an intriguing thought. Thank you so much for the communication you shared with me, and I'm looking forward to being back with you very soon. And in the meantime, have a wonderful day.